Are you wondering why your children behave the way they do? Why it seems harder these days to rein them in, to guide them, or even just to connect with them? Well, information available to me says you're not alone. Many parents are asking the same questions, sometimes in frustration, sometimes in quiet tears. Now, the truth is, children are not just reacting to the world around them. They are reflecting the world within their homes. They mirror what they see, what they hear, and more deeply, what they feel. And that's why today's conversation matters. We're talking about modeling character for children. So let's unpack the model, the power of parental modeling, the hidden influence of everyday behavior, and the hope that transformation both for the children and the parents is always possible. Joining us this morning is Mrs. Motolani Falabi, who is a clarity coach. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
I usually like to start by asking, how bad is it? I'm sorry. The reason I'm asking is, I asked that question that I asked Dr. Nikki Adeyemi at ELC of, I think, last year or the year before. How do parents who need parenting parent others? So if these parents are modeling a particular way of life to their children, is it any surprise that we're getting the kind of reactions that we're getting from them?
You already answered it. There's no surprise. Garbage in, garbage out. What you model is what you see around. So I'm surprised to myself when I hear parents say, oh, I don't know how this child picked up this behavior. And I'm wondering, I can see the behavior you're complaining about your child right in you already. But you know, oftentimes parents don't look at themselves first. They're most times just pointing fingers. Oh, my child is doing this, my child is doing that. A typical example, I remember myself growing up, and my mother would always wonder why I'm always fighting. You know, any small, whatever is not going my way, I'm ready to fight. I mean, physical fight. And so one of these days, I was in a class. Of course, that's where reparenting yourself, learning comes in, where you know that I didn't have it the best way growing up, understanding that there are certain behaviors that you also had picked up that you need to work on, and then relearning. And that was what I was doing. And then I realized that I was modeled into behaving that way. Somebody modeled the behavior to me, not because I see my father or my mother fighting anywhere on the street. However, by the time I was fact-finding to find out from my mom what happened, she said, growing up as a baby, maybe like 2 or so, I'm playing with my mates and someone hits me and I cry home. And she's wondering, I don't want to give birth to Momo baby. When they beat you, you go back and hit your own back. Now, she means well. She said she was worried. She felt like those kids out there were going to bully me, and she would not always be there to protect me. However, she wanted me to be able to stand for myself and defend myself. But while she was doing that, she had also taught me that the only way to solve something that is not going my way is to go physical. So they hit me out. I come home, she hits me and tell me, go back, go and beat your own back. To say, you can't always cry home to me. I need you to be able to defend yourself. Now, she's done that a couple of times, so much that before you hit me, I'm forced to attack. You do something, I'm hitting you back. Now, what I have learned, and I'm telling you as young as 2 years old, so that parents are aware that some of the behaviors that you see in your kids, you want to look back. What are the things that you said to them? What are the things that you've done that you're not even aware of, that has unconsciously modeled the behavior that you're seeing in your kids? Because she wouldn't have thought, okay, me sending you back to defend yourself, I didn't say, you don't know what the end result of that behavior would be, but this is me who, I'm ready to fight anybody. So these are subtle ways where kids pick up behavior from their parents, even without the parents knowing about it.
Now, this thing that you have said now, citing the example of your parents, there are many parents who did it and probably still doing it. That is the truth. Mm-hmm. So what does a parent now do if they realize that somehow or the other, they have been passing on negative behaviors to their children.
We've had similar cases where parents will say, that's not what I meant. Oh, yes, I asked you to do this. So I remember a parent saying, I had taught my kids about sexuality education, and I've told them that it's boy, girl, not boy, boy, not girl, girl. And, you know, and I've also told them that when someone tries to touch your private parts, always run away, report to trusted adults, and all of those sexuality education. And she said, I had a case where my boy, another boy, was trying to touch his private parts. Now, I at no point said if somebody is trying to fight, but this boy just felt, no, this must be a predator. You know, they were classmates. Why would you try to, you know, touch my private parts and hit the boy? Now, hitting the boy, of course, school would call what's happening and blah, blah, blah. And the boy says, no, my mommy says that, that's not what I said. You know, the mother had to start reparenting to say, no, that's not what I meant. I meant report. I meant let there be trusted adults. But the boy just felt, but this particular one, I didn't have to. I can handle this. This is my mate. So if you have discovered that there is something that you're trying to model to your kids and it looks like they might have misinterpreted the learnings that you want them to learn, you want to sit with them again and ask what they understood by what you have just communicated to them.
So you are
that way you have an idea of how they think or how they received what you've passed on to them.
So you are talking about what you call the reparenting model now. How does that begin?
It's to say, where am I? Identify where you are right now.
That's the parents?
Yes. Okay. Where am I right now? What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? What are the behaviors that I've seen in my kids that I'm not proud of? What are the things that I am also struggling with? It's important that we're able to identify where we are at the moment and see, then what do I want? What kind of citizens do I want to push out to the society? Meaning, what kind of kids do I want to raise? What kind of parent do I also want to become myself? Look at where you are, look at where you want to be, and then what is missing in between? Is it that I scream at every situation, something that, because it's something that I hear with a lot of kids to say, my mom or my parents scream at the smallest things that are, they don't think is big deal. But of course, it comes to the emotional intelligence of the parents sometimes. They're probably stressed. They also have not learned to manage their emotions when things are not being done how they want it done, or so they're reacting. So what you need to do is, where am I right now? Where am I struggling? Is it that, oh, I don't know how to react or respond when things are not going my way with my kids? Is it that I see certain behaviors in my children and I start agitating? So identify where you are. Also identify what you want and fill in the gap. What do you need? Do you need to go to take a parenting class? Do you need to maybe read a book on effective communication with your kids? Do you need to learn how to be a bit more emotionally intelligent? Do you want to figure out other disciplinary measures that you could use on your kids instead of what you currently use? So it's just you discovering where you're at, where you're going, and what the bridging, the gap should be.
That raises another question, because I read a piece that says that a whole load of parents grew up with trauma. And they were traumatized at birth. And they would say something like, I turned out fine, didn't I? And then they now use the same parenting model that today's generation sees as inadequate, but they use the same on their kids. I don't think we have the culture in our part of the world of parents saying, I need to go to a parenting school. So how do we bridge that gap?
But we're already seeing the consequence of not wanting to learn how to parent properly. So you have, let's even talk about the parents right now, the millennials, people, the young ones who are beginning to start their own family. Look at how you were parented. Would you have wanted your parents to do things differently? What pain are you taking around? And are you even inflicting on others unconsciously because of the pain that you had gone through? So for someone who had been taught to say, no, you have to fight for yourself, this person is likely one who wants to say, you know what, do me, I do you. every time someone does something to me, I will do my own back. Because it won't just be in physical fighting. It would be that someone had maybe offended you and the person had apologized, but you don't know how to get over it because you've been taught that you must get back to the person who did anything to you. So how well have you turned out? Have you actually looked at the consequences of some of these things that our parents had done to us growing up? You know, I had interfaced with a child who the parents, you know, when there are issues at home, they will usually, you know, turn into a fight. Some form of physical abuse was going on at home. And it didn't look like big deal because even the father, the man himself, had experienced the same. But he didn't think that it was big deal because to him, I turned out well anyways. But unconsciously, you're already doing the same thing that you did not like being done to your mom, to your wife. And then you're already raising a boy who also is not seeing anything bad in what you're doing and is already doing it to his classmates. So then when we start talking about generational cost, that's how is that? Your father has done something to your mom, or there was something that was happening in your family growing up that you probably like or didn't like, or maybe you didn't pay attention to. But whichever way, it's showing up in your own home right now, and you don't think it's a big deal. So we can look at the quality of the kids that we're raising right now and say, can we compare? These kids are not the generation where you are messing up with their mental health, like they would say, and they will keep quiet about it. They're looking for every opportunity to just, you know, move away from you. You know, where we're growing up, your mom will beat you. You don't like what is being done, but you are stuck with her in that house. But these kids now have other means, less than 20, they make their own money. They're beginning to say, you know what, if this house is not conducive, I would move. And of course, because the education is also very fast, maybe at 20, they're probably out of school. What you're realizing is young adults are beginning to just disassociate from their parents. No form of connection. How many of the Gen Zs still connect with their parents and let their parents know that this is exactly what is going on? We interface with them and then you hear them say, I'm sorting my own thing out myself because my parents would never get to understand, because my parents would always say, oh, I went through that and you are making a case out of this. It's not big deal. It's big deal to us. At the time, what wasn't big deal to you, it's not a big deal. Okay. So parents need to understand that what we see right now in the society, the kind of kids that we're raising, look at, and even in the workplace, the kind of employees that we have is a reflection of what we've done. So if we're saying, oh, we've not done badly, let's look at the society. That would be what would tell us really whether we have done badly or not. Because how badly behave are the people that you interface with on a daily basis?
So I want to ask this question that I've asked before. Because we are talking about how we model for children. I once asked a question, and I'm going to ask you a two-pronged question. Are parents aware that they are leaders to their children? Are parents aware that they are actually role models for their children?
That's the question that I'm going to pass to the parents at home. To say, really, you should be role models to your kids. For every behavior that your kids pick, they are learning from you, first of all. When you're saying, oh, I want this house tidy, they are looking at you. When you're done eating, do you pick up your own plates and take it to the kitchen? You're saying, my child speaks to people anyhow. My child is not kind. Are you kind to your driver? Are you kind to your maid? Are you kind to people around? Because they are looking at you. And they are not the generation of do as I say. They are a generation of do as I do. You don't have to say it, but they're looking at you. You're modeling something. And that's why you see your kids do some things and you're like, how did you pick that up? And some parents will say, oh, I know I'm guilty of that. I used to do that, but now I have learned. Maybe you use a word that you should not use, and unconsciously, you're not even aware that your child is around. And one day the child makes the statement and you're wondering, how did you pick that up? Because you're modeling. So every day, every parent out there, you need to understand that your everyday life is a script that your kids are looking at. It's a movie. They are looking at how you relate with your partner. In communication, how do you resolve conflict? Does daddy and mommy shout when they're trying to resolve conflict? When things are not going daddy and mommy way, how is it resolved? How kind is daddy and mommy to people around? Do they gossip about other people? Are they people who are hard workers, who are diligent, who are this? They are looking at all of this. So you complain about they're always on their gadgets, but you are also always on your gadgets. With no explanation, you can say, oh, but I'm working. Okay, as far as they are concerned, whatever it is they're doing on their phone, on their gadgets, is also very important. But if there is no moderation to this thing, if you are not being careful or knowing that I have people that I am leading, whether you are aware of it or not, you are leading the set of people in that house.
Okay. So there are categories of people that I can call co-parents.
Okay.
Schools, religious organizations or centers. They all have sections for children. Where is there a balance, a discordance, or an alignment from what you are aware of?
I think that parents need to be a bit more involved with all of this co-parents. The schools, the religious houses, the grannies, the nannies, the people that you leave your kids in, that you leave your kids with. If there is a roadmap of this is the kind of kids that we're trying to raise. I understand my child's personality. I understand the tendencies of my child. You're able to relate with everyone that will be co-parenting with you, because whether they are stakeholders in the life of your child, whether you like it or not, your kids are also learning. So you don't just look for a school because a school is close to your house. Have you gone to interview? Who will be the class teacher of your child? What is the culture in the school? Are you partnering with the school? So oftentimes schools will call for PTA meetings and parents don't show up. You're not interested. You feel like you're just paying them. You need to be actively involved in what is happening in the life of your child as it relates to school. Even the religious houses. Who are the teachers who are teaching your kids? You should be worried about what they're teaching your child about God. The person who is teaching your child, does the person even understand the concept of God? Is the person teaching your child religion or spirituality? What is it that... So there has to be collaboration between all the stakeholders, where parents need to champion it and say, my religious houses, who are the people I'm handling my kids to? What are the things that you teach them? What are your activities like? You need to be very involved. So if all parents come together, let's even say a certain stakeholder is not pulling their weight or not doing the things they should do. If all the parents are very involved, you can predict and dictate to say, let's come together. What works best for our kids? And collaborate with all the different stakeholders to ensure that everybody is doing what serves the best interest of the child. So there has to always be an alignment. So that it's not like you are raising a kind of child at home and your stakeholders, schools, are raising another child for you, and then the religious houses are also instilling or modeling something else to your child. You're going to raise a confused child because there is no alignment. Okay,
so for parents watching you right now and listening to you, and who are having... There are some parents who say, some children say that their parents don't know them.
Yeah.
Now, that's an interesting dynamic. I'm not sure many parents will accept that they don't know their kids. Tell us about that.
That's so funny because I have, in my work as a teen and a parent coach, I have had teenagers come in with their parents, and you hear parents saying, I know my child so well. And by the time I'm alone with the child, and the child is saying, my mom has no clue about, she doesn't have an idea of who I am, and my dad doesn't know who I am, and I'm looking at this. The kids say, you don't know me. You don't argue with the person, say, no, I know you. This child is just me. You don't know anything. And oftentimes, these kids would show to you the part of them they want you to have access to. But what they're struggling with, the real them, you don't get to know because you're already assuming that you know. But how do you bridge this gap? How do you know your partner more? How do you decide that, oh, I know this person? You spend time with them. You have conversations. Can you do that with your kids too? Don't assume you know your child. From constant, regular conversation, you're able to, from the things that they say, it might not even be expressed. And then how do you react when they say certain things to you? Because that would also dictate what they will say next to you, because they would assume that my dad would never understand, my mom would never understand, so they would always give you the version that you like to hear. Could you give room to your kids to be themselves around you, where there is no judgment? They could have done something that you're not proud of, but let them know that, yes, I do not approve of that behavior, but I still love you as my child, so that they don't feel like they have to always be 100% put together when they're around you. Don't also forget that these kids want to make you happy. They don't like the fact that you always complaining about certain things about them. They also want to do right. But based on their age or whatever is happening with them at the time, they are behaving the best way that they can. So parents, don't assume that you know your child. Let the child tell you about them. You don't just meet a random person and say, based on what I have seen, based on, you can't say you know your neighbor just by being their neighbor. I've always seen this person, this is why this person, no. Get to engage them. And the best way for you to know them is by engagement. But if you don't, oh, I'm very busy, you could have date time, you could have a walk time. Maybe myself and my daughter, we're going out for a walk, we're going out for a date, or we're trying to try out a new meal. Find that time where you're able to really connect, because a lot of the times the parents think they know, but they don't.
Now, one last thing that I want to ask you, so that the viewer knows, and then they know their own responsibilities as well, including those who will see this conversation later. What are the risks we run currently if parents don't model, and I'm putting the responsibility on the parents now. Mm-hmm. Yes, I know that there is a place for the young adults to reborn themselves, if there is anything like that, to re-educate themselves over time. But what are the risks we run as a people, as a nation, if we do not lay the right foundation for these children? And at whatever age, toddler, adolescent, teenage, and even young adults.
I think that we are already seeing the consequences of not modeling what is right in the quality of the people that we have right now. So you see the older generation saying, oh, these kids are very disrespectful. This younger generation, they're not resilient. We have modeled something. So when people complain about certain things, I'm wondering, these kids, they didn't drop from heaven. They grew up in a particular home. And there's a statement that I usually would say that we all need to go back to community parenting, where you're collaborating with other parents to ensure that we're modeling, because some parents sincerely do not know how best, they don't know how to. So if you know, collaborate with other parents. If you can hold mini sessions, just conversations, your friends, what are you struggling with? Can we learn together? Because for every bad behavior we allow to go, it's waiting for us. And that's why in the workplace, I consult for organizations, and then you hear them say, oh, this Gen Z, or they're the one who are stressed. Yes, they're very intelligent. Yes, they're very smart, but their attitude to work, you could already see the consequences of not modeling what is right to our kids. And so if we look at what we're experiencing right now, compared to what it was about, say, 10, 20 years back. Now, let's move it forward. In another 10, 20 years, if we do nothing, what kind of citizens would we have? Citizens who are ready to drag someone who is old enough to be their grandfather online with no courtesy of, oh, I don't care. Oh, he spoke to me anyhow. I dare not say, oh, somebody, you know how adults will say some things to you that you're not comfortable with, but you dare not even look in their face and say, I don't like what you have done. But this one will look at you straight in the eye and tell you, don't do that again.
Okay.
So we already are seeing the consequences. So the question is, multiply it. If nothing is done, In another 10, 20 years, what kind of kids do you think we'll raise if we're not modeling what is right?
And again, what kind of senators and
Governors
and all of that we're going to have?
Would we have?
Questions, questions, questions. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank
Motolani
you.
Falabi is a teen and parenting coach. We appreciate your time again today.
Thank you so much.